Welcome everyone to your mini Master IEP Coach training, our weekly live training together where I get to just touch on some of the hot topics that are happening in special education right now. Remember, if you like this training, then you're going to love becoming a Master IEP Coach, whether it's to help yourself or to help others. You can head over to masteriepcoach.com and figure out your next steps. So let's dive into something that is really important for us to think about right now as we are in the middle of summer. And it's hard to think about the next school year and what needs to be happening and all the things that need to be organized, put together, followed up on, followed through on, right? It's a lot. Can we agree? So I want to make sure that you know that it's 100% possible to get your IEP team not only on the same page, but written down in the document exactly how everyone is going to stay on the same page. And here's what I mean by that. There's a lot of moving pieces within the IEP. And a lot of times we go through this stressful process of prepping for the meeting, making sure we have data, doing our parent input statement, doing all the things that need to happen to ensure that a child has a free and appropriate public education, that their unique needs are being met, and that they're being prepared for further education, employment, independent living. Now, remember, I didn't make those up. That's inside the purpose and findings of Ideal Law. For those of you that might be new here, I've been in the field professionally for over 25 years. I'm also a special needs sibling. I'm a former classroom teacher, a self-contained classroom where I was focused all day on helping my students reach their IEP goals. There were so many moving parts. And as a teacher and as the case manager for my students, I always felt that everything fell onto my shoulders to make sure that the accountability, that the compliance of the IEP was all of mine to carry. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't want the responsibility. I'm not saying that I couldn't handle the responsibility, or at least I thought I could handle it all. It's really important that we look at the IEP as not just a team meeting and not just a team that's all doing their own pieces in their own way, but that we're communicating and documenting who is responsible for what. So as you are thinking this summer of all the things that need to get done, now remember, whether you're a parent, teacher, admin, or therapist, I'm talking to you. That's one of the unique things about being inside of our Master IEP Coach community is that we don't train separately, meaning we don't take sides of the IEP table. If you are part of an IEP team, if you sit at the IEP table, you belong in our Master IEP Coach community. So this strategy of getting everybody on the same page is a strategy that can be implemented by anybody at the IEP table. You can start this conversation. You can make sure this happens. You absolutely can make sure that the follow through of making sure not only that your piece that you're responsible for is done, but making sure that everybody else knows where their accountability and their responsibilities are inside of that IEP document. So this summer, as you're lining up all these thoughts in your head, and I need to follow up with this, and I can't forget about that. Teachers, I want you to hear this. You are not the person who needs to be doing all the things inside of the IEP. There is a team for a reason, which means that you need to figure out what are your responsibilities, what are you in charge of, and then where do you need to be the manager or the delegator, or what needs to happen? Who do you need to go to if you can't follow through on something in that IEP? Parents, it's your job to make sure that everything is happening, right? You know that, you feel that, and you're like, I don't even know. I just know that everything needs to happen. And why does it always feel like it falls on me? It's because there's a lot of loose things out in the IEP world, meaning like, it's like, oh yeah, we've all agreed as a team that the child will have visuals when they go from their self-contained classroom to participate in art class. They're going to have visual supports. They're going to have a reward system. They're going to have one-on-one support, not just their visual supports. They're going to actually have a person. Okay. Now, who's going to follow through? Who's going to communicate? Who's going to make sure that the visual supports are done? Who's going to make sure that the aid is there? Who's going to communicate between home and school? Those are the details that need to be documented in writing so we can get everybody on the same page. Because raise your hand if you have ever been in a conversation about special education where it's like, well, who was doing that? Whether it was out in front during an IEP meeting or it was behind the scenes, whether you're a parent who's wondering on a Wednesday in the middle of October, like, wasn't this supposed to be done at the beginning of the school year? I don't know. Like, I had so much going on. I didn't even follow through on this. And then you're carrying the parent guilt of like, I didn't follow through on that. Well, let's get it documented so we know how to follow through and who to follow through with. Same thing with teachers. Who's going to make the visuals? Do you have time to make the visuals? Are you making the visuals for that situation that we just talked about, for the child to go into the art room with their general education peers, for them to participate in that reading lesson with the second grade class across the hall from you? Who's making the visuals and supports? Is it you? Or are you assuming it's you because it hasn't been delegated? Is that something that perhaps the speech therapist already has? The visuals that are needed, they're in her office. She just didn't even think to say, oh yeah, I'll get those to you. You have to communicate as a team. We know that. You have to work and get on the same page. Yep, got to do that. You need to document how you're going to stay on this same page. So that's going to be on my list for you this summer as your brain starts going in all different directions of all the things that need to happen. It's to remember that it's not all on you. No matter what your role is, it is a team for a reason. Who determines who's the one who will follow through so we can connect with? Cecilia, that's exactly what you have to figure out. See, I can't give you that exact, this person is in charge of this, because I've been on several IEP teams as an employee, and I've been through hundreds, probably thousands of IEP meetings as a consultant, as a master IEP coach. It's always different. So that's exactly the question you ask. Who's going to be doing this? That's awesome. We all agreed that this child's going to have this new kind of motivation system set up. Who's making the system? That happened exactly at an IEP meeting that I was at. I was there. I was supporting the parent. The school was struggling with the behavior. So I was working as a consultant, kind of, I was working for the child, right? But the parent is the one who brought me in. The school was open to hearing alternative suggestions to what they were doing. In fact, they came to an agreement at the table. They're all excited about this new plan. And I said, okay, now who's going to do it? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, we'll do it. We will do it is not good enough. Who's going to do it? When will it be done? And how are we going to communicate about it's done? Is it working? All of those things. So again, if you haven't already joined me inside of our Master IEP Coach community, I would encourage you to come over to masteriepcoach.com. We are getting ready to go into, a chaotic back to school season. And inside of our Master IEP Coach community, we have an amazing set of resources coming your way. Our next online mentorship will not be until January. Do not let that stop you from signing up to get more information so you can be ready for January. So it's important for you to know that IEPs are not meant to do alone. Just like one person can't carry all the responsibilities. We just talked about that, right? The teacher can't do everything. The parent can't do everything. We need to work as a team. You also are not supposed to do all of this by yourself. You need to be surrounded by people who get you, who understand what you're going through, who have solutions that are proven to work in a variety of different situations. And that's what we have for you in the Master IEP Coach community. Remember, everybody, figure out who's doing what and document inside of the document. Who is responsible for ensuring that all of these bits and pieces, all the things that are moving every day inside of the IEP, who's responsible? Who do we talk to? And I'll tell you, once we get that laid out and then we can open up clear communication, even when things are not perfect, because we have clear communication and clear expectations, we can give grace when things don't go well, and we can move forward and get back on track. I can't wait to support you through what could be, although the most chaotic back to school year. We absolutely have the opportunity to see the biggest leaps and bounds of growth happening during this school year. I'll talk to you guys soon.